Good evening. I want to thank you all for coming. The way we'll start out is each one of our speakers tonight will make a short statement. So, Jeannie, why don't you start it off?
Okay. Thank you, Charles. First of all, I'd like to think about this question of, can a city be over-successful? We need to think about what over-successful means, or even what measures of success are, and we need to think about how fleeting so-called success is. If we think back 3 decades ago, and we woke up and walked down the street and looked at a newsstand, we would have seen a blaring headline on a competing newspaper which would have said, "Ford to New York, drop dead." New York was in dire circumstances then. We need to think back 6 years ago when we reeled from an ungodly attack on us, and various corporations talked about decentralizing, leaving the city, and Broadway actors were dancing not too far from here, begging everyone to come back. So we know that success is fragile, but we need a little more thinking about where we're going and how we're going to do it. And we need that thinking to be long-term and visionary. Currently, the 3 largest development projects we are undertaking today, Atlantic Yards, Hudson Yards, Moynihan Station, are going forward not under municipal leadership, but under state leadership, under the State Redevelopment Agency. So one question we might ask is why? What has happened to the city and its ability to lead and direct its own development? In the next few years, we will have built some very important infrastructure. 2nd Avenue subway should be moving forward. The tunnel through New Jersey, the ARC project, should also be here. And we should be asking, who is thinking about what the development potential is and what the possibilities are for development around these major activities? We probably have the most participatory planning or land use approval process in the United States. It is a brilliant structure which calls for participation at every level and discussion. However, as I mentioned before, many large projects are moving away from that. My question here is this the way we want to be planning our future and negotiating our future?
Well, I think the idea of over-success is really hard to fathom. What we really have to be doing is planning and on how to deal with the increasing size of the city and the increasing success of the city. And I think that's the real issue that we have to be addressing as a city, is how do we continue to grow in a manner that allows for the continued growth, and where do we want that growth to take place?
When you think about the notion, is the city too successful, the next question I ask is for whom? And the question is, can the city be successful for all its residents? If you think about the experience city, certainly in the context of Jane Jacobs, it's a shared experience. And I think one needs to ask, is the city being successful for all its participants? And in our business, one of the things that we try to focus on is developing strategies so that it can be successful for all its participants. And if we make a city so successful that all its voices can't be heard, I think those things that in fact have contributed to its success will also be the cause of its downfall.
When I'm thinking about over-success, I think of my small world in Red Hook and how 25 years ago no one really wanted to go into the Red Hook community. And so in Red Hook, the challenge has been to create a balance where there's affordable housing and all these and the industries. And the challenge is that for residential development, I know that I can make 3 or 4 times as much as I do giving a home to small businesses. And I can keep that up only for a certain period of time. But that's the challenge that I see. I don't know if it's too late for the city. I mean, I wish that they had sort of better planning 25 years ago, that they could consider all the growth that would be taking place. So,
Is the city becoming exclusively for the rich? Is that something that's inevitable because of the high cost of building in New York? Or is there something the matter here?
Well, New York sits back and waits for the developer to come and suggest a rezoning, basically. And so the city is not proactive, it is reactive.
When the city planned Grand Central Station, it was on the outskirts of town. And so it's probably some modicum of visionary thinking to think about the city in that way. And so today, how do we think about the city? So frequently, I hear a lot of people speak about the manufacturing base and it's disappearing, and we say, well, we want to have that manufacturing base, we want to hold on to it. Back during the late 70s, early 80s, the city invested in all these industrial parks that were put up in the South Bronx and East New York, and they are largely still vacant, right? They were never utilized, right? And so just saying I have a space that's zoned for industrial usage, right, or manufacturing doesn't necessarily make it work.
I think we have to think hard and fast before we lose the working waterfront, because we don't have that much of it already. I mean, you know, the Navy Yard is full, and they're putting up new buildings because there's a demand. The Bush Terminal is full. The Army Terminal is full. I'm fully rented. So there's a big demand for that. I'm so reluctant to give up any of that manufacturing space unless we really look at it and what we're planning on down the road, because we do need that balance.
Well, is it still possible, do you think, to create the kind of neighborhoods that embody the principles espoused by Jane Jacobs?
I don't think we can recreate Greenwich Village. What we can do, and I keep repeating this, is set our priorities. And if our priority is to have workforce housing or affordable housing, then we're a successful city, and we have developers champing at the bit to invest in us. I think we do. It is incumbent upon us to set some rules here. Developers will do what you ask them to do. They're very nice about it. And if you tell them, that they have to give us 20% affordable housing, they will find out a way to do it. But you can't bargain bit by bit about this. You have to say, all right, this is a priority. Every new development is going to have X, and they'll know what to do.
Part of any development should include an 80-20 program, which has been extremely successful in the city. People complain about it, but it's produced a tremendous amount of affordable housing and market rate housing, and at the same time, the buildings that were built starting over 30 years ago are now coming onto the tax rolls and throwing off a tremendous amount of taxes. So I think it should be mandated by the city.
Carlton just mentioned some of the barriers to creating, whether it's affordable housing or green projects. What are the other things that are going on here that make it very difficult in New York?
I think the Durst Organization sort of, at their own peril and at their own risk, sort of opened up the planet, certainly the planet of bankers in New York, and sort of changed the way that they looked at doing these things. So through certainly the things that the Durst Organization has done and what has happened at Battery Park City, it sort of opened the doors, for some other avenues of rethinking how we build our community.
Thank you all for coming.